How do you build a system for contract integrity that is on autopilot? It runs itself. In one of the videos, I talked about contract integrity, making sure that what you promise, what you deliver, and what you bill, they all line up. And I suggested, if you recall, doing an audit of your top 20 customers. And if you actually do that, you will probably find some surprises. But here's the thing, an audit is a point-in-time fix. You clean things up today, and then 6 months later, you're back in the same mess. I learned that the hard way. At one company, we did a very big contract cleanup project, and it took about 4 months. And we found a bunch of revenue we were not collecting on, and everyone felt great. And then a year later, I looked again and the same problems were creeping back in. And that's when I realized you cannot audit your way to contract integrity. You need a system that keeps things clean automatically. Today, I want to share how to build that system, not complicated stuff, just practical things that you can actually do. So let's get into it. The contract lifecycle, you need to understand that first. Let me frame this around what I call the contract lifecycle, which is essentially every contract goes through stages, and each stage has an opportunity for things to go right or go wrong. And stage one is more on the creation. This is when the deal is being negotiated, terms are being set, and the contract is being drafted. The risk here is that non-standard terms get agreed to without proper review. Stage two is the execution. The contract is signed, but the risk here is that the signed version does not match what was negotiated, or the key terms don't get captured everywhere in the contract or anywhere in the contract. Stage three is activation. With the contract going live, services start, billing begins. And then you start conjuring risks, adding risks. Your billing is different, you have a problem. Stage four is performance, your contract is delivering. The risk is drift, things slowing or getting out of sync without anyone noticing. Stage five is renewal or termination. The contract is ending or renewing. The risk here is missing the window to renegotiate or auto-renew on terms you don't want. So a good contract integrity system has controls at each of these stages, not heavy bureaucracy, just the right checks at the right moments. So stage one is getting the creation right. Let's start with creation. This is where the deal desk comes in. If you watched my earlier videos, you'll know that I'm a big believer in having a clear set of rules about what can be approved and by whom. Remember, there was a deal desk matrix approach. Your standard contract should largely be your default. Every time someone wants to change a term, that's a conscious decision. If your sales reps are starting from scratch every time, you're inviting inconsistency. Also, make sure that legal is involved early for non-standard terms. I have seen too many situations where a sales rep, they negotiate something, tell the customers yes, and then legal basically comes back and says no. Get legal in the loop before you make commitments, not after. And document everything. If you agree to something verbally, put it in writing. If you make an exception, note why. This sounds basic, but so many problems come from, I thought we agreed to it. And that conversation, is an apple cart that will tip over. Stage two, look at capturing execution. When the contract gets signed, that is not the end. That's really the beginning. You need a process to capture the key terms from every signed contract. I'm talking about a structured summary, not just a PDF sitting in a folder, but the actual data extracted and stored somewhere useful. What is a customer name? Contract start date, end date, auto-renewal terms, pricing, billing frequency. Are there any special terms or commitments that have been made? Some companies do this manually. Someone reads a contract and enters the information into a system, and that works. And it's as long as error-free. Better companies use contract management software that can extract this information automatically, or at least make it easy to tag and categorize. The key is that this information needs to be accessible. Your billing team should be able to look up at what the contract is saying without having to find the PDF and read through 20 paragraphs. Your customer success team should know what was promised without calling the sales rep. Stage three is in activating correctly. Now the contract is signed, the terms are captured. Next is activating the contract. Actually starting the service and doing the billing. And this is where you need a very clean handoff from sales to operations to finance. I like to see a formal kickoff process. Before a new customer goes live, there's a meeting or at least a documented handoff where the key stakeholders review what was being sold. What is the scope of the work? What are the deliverables and what is the timeline? What did we commit to in terms of service levels? What are the billing terms? And everyone should have that handoff with the same understanding. There should be no surprises. And then this is important. You verify that the billing is set up correctly before the first invoice even goes out. Don't wait until the customer complains that they were billed incorrectly. Check it proactively. I've seen companies where the first invoice is almost always wrong because no one checks. There is a terrible first impression. And fixing billing errors is way harder than getting it right the first time. Stage 4 is around monitoring performance. Okay, so now the contract team is running, the contract system is in place. How do you keep it on track? First, schedule regular reviews. For your big customers, this might be quarterly. For smaller ones, it could be annually. But you need to look at each contract periodically and ask, why are we delivering what we promised? Are we billing correctly? Are the customers happy? Second, track the key dates. Every contract has important dates, renewal dates, price increase dates, milestone dates. You need a system that alerts you before these dates, not after. If a contract auto-renews in 90 days, someone should know about it now so you can decide if you want to negotiate. Third, monitor for scope creep. This is where you start delivering more than what the contract is saying, and you don't get paid for it. It happens very gradually. Customer asks for a little extra help. You say yes because you want to keep them happy. Then they ask for more. Before you know it, you're doing a bunch of work that is not in the contract. Now, sometimes that is okay. It's relationship building. That's fine. But you should be aware of it. Track the services you're providing versus what is contradicted. If there's a big gap, have a conversation about adjusting the contract. Finally, reconcile the billing regularly, at least once a quarter. Compare what you're billing each customer to what their contract says. This is your safety net for catching errors before they become big problems. Now, the renewals is a very big or grand affair. On renewals, you want to see where the money, at what point customers are renewing. Is it an anniversary date or an activity date? I would say, generally you start looking at renewals 90 days before expiration. You want time to negotiate. You don't want this to be a last-minute scramble. Review the contract performance before the renewal conversation. What worked? What didn't? Have their needs changed? Have your costs changed? And this is your chance to reset the relationship on better terms. And please pay attention to these auto-renewal clauses. If a contract auto-renews at the same terms, ask yourself, do we want that? Sometimes the answer is yes, as a good customer, good terms, let it ride, but sometimes you're reviewing a bad deal just because no one is paying attention. So I've seen companies where contracts auto-renewed for years at below market rates because no one ever reviewed them. There's money actually walking out the door. So what are the key takeaways from this session? Number one, think about contracts as a life cycle. It's not a one-time event. You're dealing with creation, execution, activation, performance, renewal. Each stage needs the right decisions. Number two, the handoff from sales to operations is where most problems happen. Build a formal process to make sure everyone knows what was promised before delivery began. Number three, don't rely on audits. Build monitoring into your regular operations. Schedule reviews, date tracking, billing reconciliation. That's how you keep the contracts clean over time and not just once. Contract integrity, by the way, is not glamorous. I know that. Nobody gets excited about it, but getting this right is one of those things that just makes everything else easier. Fewer fire drills, fewer customer complaints, less money leaking out. So keep this in mind, and I will see you in the next video session. Thank you. And in the meanwhile, check out my efuturecfo.com. I have my YouTube channel. And I have a book published, Revenue Operations. Feel free to read that book because I talk about a lot of this deal desk stuff in that book itself. Take care. Bye-bye.